The traditional Vietnamese wedding is one of the most important ceremonies in Vietnamese culture, with influence from Confucian and Buddhist ideologies. There are normally two steps, the engagement and the wedding. The engagement ceremony which takes place before the wedding. In the past, most marriages were arranged by the parents or extended family, and while children were sometimes consulted, it was almost always the parents' final decision. While this has changed completely in modern Vietnam. Gift to the bride's family. Gifts include betel, wine, tea, fruit, cakes, a roast pig, and an abundance of jewelry for the bride, the amount of jewelry depending on the personal wealth of the groom's family. Usually the number of gift boxes varies from 6 or 8 in the south where the even number are good luck, and from 5 to 7 in the North Vietnam where the odd number are good. Hello friends and viewers, today in this episode, we introduce to you the traditional wedding ceremony in Vietnam. We hope that you can see a cultural particularity but also its cumbersomeness. Groom's delegation is seen as a street parade and may be more important than the wedding itself. Parents, relatives and friends of the groom gather and rent cars to go to the bride's family. The number of cars reflect the richness of the groom's family. In the case the two families are not far, they go around hours before finally arriving to the bride's family. In the bride's family, all parents, relatives and friends of the bride gather also to receive the groom's family. A tea reception is prepared to welcome the guests. In the North Vietnam the engagement ceremony is simpler than in the south, especially the western provinces of Mekong Delta where the ceremony of giving wedding jewelry presents is a must-do for every engagement. Foreigners can be surprised by the gold jewelry that bride received. Vietnam GDP per capita is only $4,000 and many families are still poor. If the gold really belongs to them, they can live their whole life without doing anything. Wedding is normally organized some weeks after the engagement ceremony. The scale and luxury depend on the family's social class level. In some cases it will be a burden. In the cities, wedding ceremonies are organized in hotels or wedding centers, where the packet price include banquet, master of ceremony, flower and live music. The price per capita varies between $20 to $40. It depends of the quality of food, decoration or brand name of the hotel. Poor families build big tent in front of their houses to organize the wedding for their children. These tents occupied the sidewalk and street, causing the traffic congestion, and it has given an ugly impression for visitors. In the countryside where there are few hotels or wedding centers and farmer paying capacity is still modest, building big tent for wedding ceremony is the best solution. There are many companies specializing in building the tent and all concerned logistics, cook the banquet, flower decoration, live music and wedding photo album with a very reasonable price. In some area, to reduce the banquet cost, relatives of bride or groom prepare themselves the wedding meal. It is also hearty and very cheap. Whatever the family poor or rich, live music and master of ceremony are indispensable. How much is the renting a music band and a master of ceremony in the countryside? It varies in the province, but for reference, the budget is estimated between $80 to $100. It is not expensive. Among the wedding guests, there are always the amateur dancers and singers who actively participate to the party. They contribute to animate the wedding, changing the traditional notion, eating is principle. According to official statistics, the average age to get married in Vietnam the last years is 27, it gets older in big cities. For example, in 2022, the average age to get married reached nearly 30 years old. The divorce rate in Vietnam is 25%, that means there is 1 on 4 couple will divorce. The crude marriage rate of Vietnam, per 1,000 people, is 5.7 and divorce rate in is 0.2 in reference of EU, 4.5 and 2.0 in US, 6.8 and 3.6. Wedding invitation card. The wedding invitation cards often have red color and the Chinese letters meaning double happiness. In Vietnam, the number of wedding guests varies but often some hundred people. One invite acquaintance to the wedding and sometime the guests are embarrassed. Everybody has the notion, big wedding is good wedding. Happy gifts in envelope. To reduce the financial burden of the bride and groom, the wedding guests offer to them money in envelopes and rarely buy gifts in kind. The amount depends of province, habit and luxury level of the banquet. In the countryside, the amount is only from $10 to 20, while in the cities, it can reach 40 or more. Economists can ask whether the bride and groom will have a big debt to reimburse after the wedding. Fortunately, the answer is positive. In most cases, money gifts can compensate the expenses. If the bride or groom parents are officials in administration, they can earn a lot from the parents' guests. In the contrary cases, they can lose a little but not so much. If the engagement ceremony is an introduction which has a Vietnamese traditional custom and the wedding is the end of the single life, the Bring Bride Home is an amusing chapter in the wedding symphony. This ceremony normally takes place before the wedding ceremony and by many means of transportation, car, boat, motorbike and even by a turtle cart. Vietnam Facts and Figures is a channel to introduce to foreigners and visitors the cultural particularities of Vietnam. If you find it interesting and useful, do not forget to press like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.